Happy Monday and welcome here to another edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, back from the weekend. How was it for you, Mr. Sipple?
Just worked most of the time. Watched some football. But yeah, not a lot to do. Not a lot going on.
You didn't watch any you watched Husker basketball. We'll get in that later in the show, but
yes, I watched Husker basketball. That was great. Well, that was a highlight.
No, I've already buried it in the show because it doesn't deserve a top headline right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Wisconsin looked good. Wisconsin's good. They're legit. They could make a little run, I think. John Tonji, who had 27 in the game, God, they were talking about him like maybe being the best guard in the Big Ten.
And it's just such a nightmare if you're like Nebraska. All these like local guys that are like now 5th, 6th year players like Tom, they're good.
Yeah,
and
Tonji's
like,
really good.
You know, the low-hanging fruit for these Nebraska fans and people like, why aren't they here? And I mean, it's because
legit question.
Millard North and Bellevue West, those two teams were generational Nebraska high school basketball teams, and now all those players, like 3 of them, are leading Power 4 teams in scoring right now.
Yeah, if you had Hunter Salas, who's at Wake Forest, all ACC player. And you had St. Thomas,
Chucky
who's at
Hepburn.
USC. Yeah, Chucky Hepburn.
Frankie Fiddler.
Yeah. But if you just take 3 of them, Chucky Hepburn, Hunter Salas, and John Tonji, those are 3 of the top 25 guards in the nation. They're elsewhere. It's not good. It's just not good, but it is what it is. But they just happen to all be really
William
good. Kyle's good. Yeah, I mean, there's guys. Jason Green's not bad. I mean, he'd help you.
No, I mean,
but Creighton's in this conversation too. Why aren't they? Jason Green is at Creighton, but these
Isaac
other guys.
Trout's there. But yeah, it is. I said this to our friend Jim Rose. I'm like, look, the days of bringing these guys in and riding them out for 4 or 5 years, that's not the model anymore.
No, it's not.
They have to go somewhere, and then they almost price. You can't afford to get them all.
Not all. No, there's no way you could pay them all. There's no way.
It's not recruiting anymore. It's transactional recruiting.
Right. There's no way. If you, it's an interesting point, because if you couldn't afford to have Hunter Salas, John Tonji, and Chucky on the same roster, I don't think.
No,
I don't think you could. I don't think you, for sure, Chucky. I mean, Chucky's going to command close to $1 million, and
Fiddler
Hunter's over $1 million. I mean, so yeah, you can't. I don't think you could have them both on the same team.
No, it's
interesting when you think of it that way, right?
Well, and again, though, yeah, and then locally, the local paper covers it. It's a big headline, and it gets you mad. Like you're like, why aren't like when Noah Fant was at Iowa? Like why aren't these guys here? Harrison Phillips at Stanford in football. So yeah, those things definitely become hot button points. But let's get into the show. We got a good show here today. Headline 1: Nebraska will host Notre Dame offensive lineman Rocco Spindler.
Okay.
That will be on Tuesday. So he held a Zoom call with Nebraska on Sunday night. And I know, I'll say Friday, Saturday, there was nothing there yet.
Okay.
It didn't look like it was going to have any movement because Michigan was a heavy player. He had visited Indiana. Well, Nebraska will get Rocco Spindler to visit now Tuesday. And there's some concern, could he get here in time? Well, he's a graduate transfer. So there's a lot more leeway because he's already a graduate. So even if he visits Tuesday and it's later in the week, if he picked Nebraska, they can still get him here. So this is a significant development.
Rocco Spindler started for Notre Dame, which obviously played Ohio State for all the marbles. He didn't start the first 3 games, started all of the games after that, got replaced in the lineup last year, kind of won his job back, or at least
got it back through injury.
Back through injury. But bottom line is he was a starter for Notre Dame and started, I think, 23 games. Does that sound right to you?
23 in his career. And
yeah.
I talked to Mike Singer, our Notre Dame on 3 expert this morning, and he said the deal was that Notre Dame did not guarantee that he would start. Like, there's a lot of young talent in their program, as you'd imagine. Mm-hmm. And interior linemen grow on trees. Every top flight program has a lot of good interior linemen. It's just an easier position to recruit. So I think for him, it was not a guarantee he was going to start. Well, he goes on the market, and now he's a hot commodity. He's got Nebraska, he's got Michigan, he's got Indiana, all vying for him now.
Yeah, Michigan, I think about it. Michigan, I don't know, according to say our national
Pete
writer, Pete Nakos. Sounds like Michigan might be the favorite or had been the favorite.
They had, yeah. I mean, but again, the fact that Nebraska got him on the phone Sunday night and he's coming to visit Lincoln,
it's big.
And so what this would mean, if they could pull this off, this is your center.
Okay.
Then you'd have Latowski, Justin Evans, maybe even a Turner Corcoran could play guard. You have plenty of guard options. You have Elijah Pritchett at left tackle.
Okay.
And then between Gunnar Gatula, Corcoran, Prohaska, you might have your right tackle.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not a bad picture.
You have
right?
a pretty good picture to work with here. And look, I know Gunnar played left, but I believe it's expected that Pritchett, who started left tackle for Alabama, will be a left tackle here.
Yeah, and Gunnar is not available in the spring because
nor is Latowski.
So they got some things. Anyway, they got some things to work through. This is definitely. So you are taking this one seriously.
Now, the fact, okay, conversation is one thing. The visit's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get real, in my opinion, until the visit actually happens.
Yeah, he's agreed to come to Lincoln.
Because that's money. And the difference between a Spindler to a Shiaz Pete is about half the price.
Okay.
Because you're talking about a tackle versus a center.
Yeah, or guard. He could probably play guard too, right?
Yeah, I think center, though. I mean,
this is a center.
They don't really have, I mean, look, I think the consensus is like they like Sam Sledge for the future, but I don't know if he's quite ready yet right away to be at that level.
Well, you're talking about a grown man here coming in versus someone who's still developing. The Sledge is still developing.
And again, if they didn't get Spindler, I still think just my theory is you could have Corcoran play inside and he could be a center or Evans could be a center.
Yeah.
They have options there to move that thing around. But this one would be interesting and a nice starting level addition, which, as we know, in the portal, that's how Ben Scott came here in this type of role, but they're hard to come by.
Worked out well with Ben Scott. I mean, that's an example of one that worked out really well. So, yeah, this is something to watch. And it's something to watch, too, because you're battling Big Ten teams.
He's a Michigan native.
Yeah, he's from Michigan. I don't want Indiana. I don't know why. I don't want Indiana to get. Indiana's already gotten two high-level transfer offensive linemen.
You turned on Spignetti.
I did.
Signetti. Sorry.
Yeah,
I called him Spignetti. I used to not know how to say it. I was like spaghetti. Robin got so mad at me.
Yeah, I don't know that I guess I turned on him a little bit. I never was a huge fan.
Annoyed.
Yeah, he's annoying. All of his bluster is what I'm getting at. He's very blustery, He's a kind of a me guy. So I don't want to. I hope.
Can you imagine in the office? It'd be interesting what he'd be like.
Yeah, he's probably. I'm sure, Sean, his good qualities outweigh his bad. Sure.
He knows what he's doing. I mean,
there's no way he could get to where he's at.
No, he's climbed from the bottom and got to this point.
Yeah,
so
he's got Indiana. We'll see what Indiana's got though this year.
All right, let's go to headline number 2. But before we get to that, HuskerOnline headlines brought to you by Crani-Yum, premier energy drink. And look, you can find it at most Hy-Vee health markets here in eastern Nebraska, as well as other fine retailers. If you're not familiar with Crani-Yum, it's made here in Nebraska by 2 lifelong Husker fans based out of Fremont. They offer 3 great flavors: lemon, lime, peach, and their version of cherry Dr. Pepper called Dr. Yum. Right now, online they are low on Dr. Yum, but you can still pick that up at the different Hy-Vee markets. You can order their product online, and we have plenty here in the office. And look, it gets simple through about half the week.
Yeah, it gets me through a day for sure. We have plenty of Crani-Yum here if you want to step up at the office.
We'll treat you.
Step into the office.
But we're going to give you 10% off. Go to their website. That's Crani-Yum.com. That's CRANI yum.com. Use the promo code HuskerOnline. They'll give you 10% off that order of Crani-Yum. Thanks again to Crani-Yum for sponsoring us here on HuskerOnline headlines. Okay, let's go into headline number 2. And I want to hit on the Super Bowl because Nebraska will have a player now in the Super Bowl for 37 of the last 45 years on an active roster. I had to do some back counting to get that stat pulled last night. Terry Braden, also Nebraska's assistant D-line coach of the future, will be with the Chiefs for 2 more weeks, which I think is a good thing. Good publicity for Nebraska that Braden will be in New Orleans with the Chiefs for 2 more weeks before he gets to Lincoln with a chance to win a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl ring, as well as Dawson Merritt's father, who's the cornerbacks coach for the Chiefs, going for a ring there. So lots to keep track on. But how about that stat on Husker players in the Super Bowl?
It's a good stat. I wonder how that compares to other places. That's one thing I'd like to know. But yeah, it's a standalone stat that's sort of interesting. And then the Eagles, the guy that interests me as much as anybody is Gates, Nick Gates.
He's on the active roster. I don't believe he played though.
No, he doesn't. No, Sean. He
like if he played, it would have been like special teams.
Yeah, he doesn't start on their offensive line. They have one of the best offensive. Oh, I was listening to the radio broadcast of the Eagles Commanders yesterday, and the sideline reporter was talking about the Philadelphia. Now, I don't know if this is true, but this is what I heard. The sideline reporter was saying the Eagles are starting to show an offensive line that might be one of the best in NFL history. I was like, whoa, Juergens is part of that. Now, Cam Juergens, the former Nebraska center from Beatrice, did not start yesterday because he was held out because of a bad back. Did have to play the second half, though.
27 snaps for Cam Juergens.
Okay, so he played yesterday after, I'm going to say, if you have a name up there, I think it's Landon Dickinson. Or
Landon Dickerson played 39.
Yeah, he started. But Cam usually starts. Bad back. He's a Pro Bowler this year, Cam. So we'll see how his back is. But I mean, he had to play the second half. Gates is interesting to me because he's a 7th-year guy. He was undrafted. Nick Gates wasn't drafted, undrafted free agent, and has made it 7 years in the league.
I remember this when Scott Frost got hired. Nick Gates could have come back for that year.
Okay.
And
yes.
he chose to just go pro.
Okay.
And I remember
get drafted.
And a lot of people are like, wow, like, why wouldn't he want to come play at that time for Frost, who had just come off the Peach Bowl win?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a story we broke on Husker Online. I was with Robin leaving Atlanta. I was in an airport shuttle. I still remember busting out my laptop on the way to the Atlanta airport to write that Nick Gates was going to go pro.
You beat the newspapers on that. There's Gates right there.
Oh yeah.
Why am I intrigued with Gates? Well, he's one of the best interviews that I've ever experienced. He's a super nice guy. I think you were maybe with me, or maybe it was Parker when we ran into him one time. He was in travel mode, same flight as us, and he's super nice. He's a great dude. Nick Gates is a great dude. I was always interested in him because I think he could have been a collegiate baseball pitcher. He threw about 90 mile an hour fastball. Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. So yeah, he's on there. And you say O'Shawn Mathis on the
practice squad.
Is on their practice squad. So heavy Husker flavor on that team.
Well, then Terry Braden will be down there too
as a chief. He's with the Chiefs,
as well as Dave Merritt.
Yeah,
Dawson's father. And gosh, I wouldn't be surprised if Dawson Merritt got to go. And here's the locker room picture of Dave Merritt, Dawson Merritt, Terry Braden, and not Patrick Mahomes.
There's Patrick Mahomes.
That is Dylan Raiola, who was mistaken as Mahomes in the Chiefs locker room
on Pacheco's Instagram.
But quite a scene there in the locker room there with the Chiefs winning. And look,
you love the Chiefs.
I had a lot of fun going back and forth with mad people about the spot on that 4th down.
I saw it. I mean, one ref marked it short and one had him as first down.
I couldn't see the football.
So we're talking about Allen. I thought he got it. I mean, but come on, it's close enough. Yeah, it was hard to.
The replay, the ball was in his right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, his left shoulder was beyond the line to gain,
mm-hmm.
but the football was in his right hand, and you never could see where the football went. You could see where his helmet went. You could see where his left shoulder went, but what about the ball? And that's the, and look, you don't have to like the call, but how about if you're the Bills, don't go for 2 in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Take the freaking extra point.
Yeah,
don't
chasing.
Get cute. Don't chase points.
They're chasing.
To beat a dynasty, you got to do more than freaking run a QB sneak.
Yeah.
And Chris Jones owned the QB sneak. He just destroyed the tush push like 3 times.
Yep.
You're not going to beat a dynasty with a tush push. I'm sorry. You got to freaking make a play. You got to catch a ball. Quit crying about the refs. Make a play.
Yeah, you hear that narrative a lot.
With the ref. No, make a play.
Right.
You had the ball last. Spagnuolo dials up a perfect blitz, game over. And then you still had a chance to stop the Chiefs twice on their final drive. What did Mahomes do? He scrambled and he made plays.
Yep. Oh, they're amazing. They're amazing.
Like, everyone's mad about it. Stop them.
I'm not
it's
mad.
just funny to see that.
I wasn't mad.
How angry people get about this.
Yeah. I guess there's some Chiefs fatigue, but they're amazing.
I mean, they execute at such a high level. And look, I mean, the Bills had every opportunity. They went for 2 twice. They didn't get it. The Chiefs went for 2 once. They got it. That's a 3-point swing right there.
Oh, yeah.
And the Chiefs won by, what do they win by? 3.
3. Yeah.
I mean, if everybody just would have kicked their extra points, we would have been in overtime.
Yep. I didn't know you were that mad about it.
No, it just annoys me that people disrespect what they've accomplished.
Not everybody does.
Just loud people. Yeah. Like, it gets old.
Yeah. I hear you.
Because they haven't always been good. Like, I mean, God, it's not like, I mean, it just, look, it's how sports work.
I
will say, though, it's been a good year. I'm a Chiefs and a Dodgers fan.
Yeah, it's a great year.
But maybe I've jinxed Nebraska football by having my other 2 teams I watch a lot win.
Yeah. I don't believe in jinxes.
No, I don't believe. All right. Well, let's go to headline number 3. But before we get to that, Husker on the headlines, brought to you by HelloFresh. It's that time of year. You don't want to deal with the grocery store. You don't want to deal with all the things you need to go to the store and get out of your house in the cold and the wind. You want it easy. You want it simple, but you want to eat healthy too at the same time. Well, HelloFresh does all that for you. You pick the meals you want. Every week they have 50 different options, and you can design the options you want. Protein-based, low calorie, quick and easy, spicy, vegetarian, you name it. You pick the recipes and you say, hey, I want 2 meals a week for 2 people. I want 3 meals a week for 4 people. They send you a box with all the produce, all the meats, all the spices, everything you need simply bagged up to make these meals. And a lot of times they take about 15 or 20 minutes to make, and you are eating a much better, healthier meal with fresh produce and meats at your own home. We're going to give you a great way to start HelloFresh. 10 free meals plus a free protein item for life. Just go to HelloFresh.com/Husker10FM. That's HelloFresh.com/Husker10FM. That FM stands for free meals. And again, they're going to give you 10 free meals for the life of your subscription, as well as a free high protein item for life with every box. And they send the boxes out once a week, usually like Tuesdays or Wednesdays. They'll come to your house, you put it right in your refrigerator, and you're set for the week. Thanks again to HelloFresh for sponsoring us here on Husker Online Headlines. Okay, headline number 3. Speaking of Dylan Raiola, he was everywhere this weekend. So not only did he get a workout with Jeff Christensen, the renowned quarterback instructor, who was in Lincoln for the Remington Award ceremony, as well as Will Howard, who was in town this weekend. Dylan Raiola was there at the dinner as well at the Remington Trophy ceremony. Then he was at Arrowhead Stadium, as we showed earlier. But for a young freshman in college, Stipple, Raiola's everywhere. Like, how many freshmen do you know this young that are in the Chiefs locker room at the Remington dinner, working out with Jeff Christensen in Lincoln? I mean,
well, most of them can't afford to do it.
I know, it's just remarkable.
Right. He can afford it. Yeah, it is. And it's great. It's great for him. I mean, those are incredible experiences that the Chiefs welcome him into that setting. I think the most important part of his weekend was working with Jeff Christensen. I mean, Dylan is trying to get better, and Christensen's the guy to do it.
All right, I'm going to do my best version of you. Tell our listeners who Jeff Christensen is.
Well, yeah, we shouldn't. I'll tell you why I do that, because nobody knows. I mean, they don't. We shouldn't act like Jeff Christensen is a household name, because he's not. I had to look him up. By the way, there's Dylan. Jeff Christensen is a quarterback's. We'll call him a guru. He's worked with over 4,000 quarterbacks since his time in the NFL, which ended in 1990.
And he was Dave Remington's quarterback?
Well, he was his roommate. Yeah, with the Cincinnati Bengals. Jeff played with 8 teams. He made it in the NFL for like an 8-year period. But now, yeah, he coaches. His star pupils, Mahomes, but he coached up Will Howard, and Will Howard had a great. I worked with Will Howard 40 plus times in a year span. Howard had a great year at Ohio State, obviously led him to the national title. He's worked with Dylan for 4 years. He believes they had their 100th workout on Saturday.
All down in Texas is my guess, or does he come to them?
He was here, he was here on Saturday. He has camps in Illinois and Arizona, and I think in the Dallas area. I don't know exactly where Dylan goes with him all the time. Dayton Raiola also works with him. You'd be interested in Christensen. If you think I'm gruff, he takes it to another level. So we had a good conversation. He said, I'm not going, like at one point he said, look, I'm not going up there to socialize. We got work to do. I don't socialize with these guys. He goes, I have 4 friends and I'm trying to get rid of 2 of them. That's what he said.
Were you like, what do you mean? Interesting.
Oh, he's a dude. He doesn't mess around. It's a good guy. It's a good there. God, look at that. There's Christensen right there. He's a good. And look, he works with Mahomes.
With Kelsey.
Yeah. Kelsey. He's worked with Mahomes since 2017.
Mahomes is only 29 years old. That freaks me out.
Yeah, he's on track to be the GOAT. I just like saying that. But anyway, yeah, Dylan is leading quite a nice life. It's a pretty good deal for Dylan. But there's got to be hard work involved, and he got some receivers, and they went to work on Saturday before the banquet.
Well, then there's the other trainer, Bobby, down in Kansas City, and blanking on his last name, but he works out with him too, and that's also Mahomes' like regular kind of physical personal trainer, and then this is the quarterback trainer.
Yeah, and these are not light workouts. I mean, it's what Christensen says is a lot of guys tell him, when I get to the game, it's way easier than what you're asking us to do. So
Bobby Strope is his name, and
yeah,
he's down in Overland Park.
So yeah, Dylan, you always wonder a little bit about how Nebraska's coaching staff feels about their quarterbacks working with outside guys. Mario Verduzco didn't like that when he was here. Not all quarterbacks coaches feel the same.
But the coaches can't work with them in the offseason.
Right.
There's
Some
rules.
are just
There's
fine.
rules.
Yeah. I think if I were a quarterbacks coach, I'd be fully supportive of it because you're just working on your craft. You're trying to get better. The kid's trying to get better and better and better and better. So just have him do it and feel comfortable with what you're doing when you have him.
Yeah, and I would imagine the guys that don't like it are almost threatened.
Maybe.
Because if the success comes,
it may be a little bit more than that. There might be a little more substance to it than that. If they're teaching competing techniques, for instance, that could confuse a kid probably. But I don't know. I'm not going to get into all that. It didn't sound like that was an issue. I don't want to make it an issue when it's
wasn't Harburg at one point, I believe, going down.
Don't know.
I thought last year he did some workouts with Christensen.
I don't know that.
A few.
Yeah.
But I would imagine he gets a lot of inquiries. I can only imagine if you're him, how many people you turn away.
Yeah. I never thought of that, but you're probably right.
Like, I mean,
you only have, there's so much time in a day.
And when you're an elite trainer like that, you only want to work with elite.
There's that, but there's also the element where they do have camps where hundreds of people can come. So they do those, and I know they have them in Arizona and Illinois. So that they can teach in mass. It's not all one-on-one instruction. I don't know how much Dylan does that. I don't know if he goes to those multi-quarterback camps or not. But anyway, So yeah,
I would imagine most of Dylan's are private individual.
I mean, think so.
He did go to the Elite 11
Mm-hmm.
in high school. That was like, and he went and did the workout and did the camp, but didn't do, he wasn't a big camp guy. Didn't need to.
Yeah. So Christensen was coming up, as you mentioned, the Remington Trophy banquet was Saturday night. He was coming up here for that, and he just thought, as long as we're here, I'm going to work with Dylan.
And all your ticket guys, I saw Aaron Davis and Nick Sainerd and Jay and all. I mean, a lot of your guys from the ticket.
A lot of the guys from the ticket went. Will Howard was there.
It's a nice event they do. Dave Remington and Tony Felici helps run that, former Husker player. Kelly Feynman's involved, John Feynman's son. But all right, let's before we go to headline number 4, Husker Online headlines brought to you by Public Rec. And who doesn't want to be comfortable? When you leave the house, put on a nice, comfortable pair of pants, a hooded sweatshirt, just leisure wear, as the kids call it.
Is that what they call it?
Leisure wear. But
5 pocket pants.
Public Rec, if you're not familiar, they have you set up between, sweatpants, dress pants, just comfortable things to wear to work, around town, to work out in, to golf, you name it. They have all the different options with pants, shorts, tops, zip-ups. Check them out. I promise you'll like the colors, the different styles, the different options they have to offer. And we're going to give you 20% off your first order of Public Rec. Go to their website. It's publicrec.com. Use the promo code Husker at that website. Again, that's publicrec.com, promo code Husker, and we're going to give you 20% off, whether it's pants, shorts, shirts, whatever, on your first order. I can tell, Sipple, you're intrigued.
I am looking at them right now. I'm intrigued.
And I've got a few items from them. Outstanding, high-quality stuff.
Comfort.
At Public Rec, promo code Husker. Thanks again to Public Rec for sponsoring us here on Husker on the headlines. All right, let's go to headline number 4. It is Draft All-Star Game week, and Nebraska will be well represented. This week on Thursday is the East-West Shrine Game. That is at AT&T Stadium in Arlington. Nash Hutmacher and Isaiah Nayor are both in that game playing. And initially, that was also Deshaun Singleton's game that he was going to play in. But as we know, he's back at Nebraska. But then the big one is the Senior Bowl. That's in Mobile, Alabama. And Nebraska will have 3 players in that game. Thomas Fidone at tight end, Ty Robinson on the defensive line, and then Tommy Hill at corner. And to kind of put the Senior Bowl in perspective, 93 of the 257 players drafted a year ago played in the Senior Bowl. 93 of the 257 total drafted players. So 43% of the NFL draft alone comes out of the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, the guys I'm watching closely are Ty and Nash. I mean, Nash, I know, is not in the Senior Bowl. He's in the East-West Shrine Game in Arlington, which is Thursday night. It must be on TV. It's
NFL
world.
Network.
It's in Jerry's world. I mean, those guys are going to be hard to replace. Ty's going to get drafted. Maybe as high as the second round. You hear first round talk, like you've heard Matt Rule talk about Ty perhaps going in the first round. Will Nash get drafted?
I think Nash will.
Big man, big body. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, I don't know about draft, but I think he'll make a roster. And he could get drafted. Some of it's dependent on how he does this week.
And Fidone's obviously been a hot button because a lot of Husker fans
really hot button
didn't think he should have gone pro.
What's up with that?
But he got a Senior Bowl invite, which is not easy to get.
It's a hot button topic, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just a product of the injuries he suffered. He never had probably the impact that you wanted to see, but he had a solid career.
Yeah, he did 2 years. He had 2 good years. Wouldn't you say he had two good
solid years?
Yeah. So yeah, he decided I don't know. Listen, I have to think that he made this jump. He's making this jump because he was informed by NFL people to make the jump.
He got his draft grade.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is not a blind squirrel trying to find a nut here. I mean, they have a process these guys go
Big
through.
Squirrel. Yeah, no, exactly.
And then he got a Senior Bowl invite immediately,
right.
Which
that
again, the last tight end from Nebraska to play in the Senior Bowl was Mike McNeil. The last tight end before Mike McNeil, to play in the Senior Bowl was Tracy Wistrom, who's the last tight end who's been drafted.
That's the thing. It's interesting, isn't it? No draft pick at tight end since Tracy Wistrom.
So think about the tight ends we're talking about here. Jack Stahl didn't play in the Senior Bowl, wasn't drafted. Austin Allen didn't play in the Senior Bowl, wasn't drafted. Travis Vokalek, same category.
Yeah.
You go down the line. Ben Cotton. I mean, Kyler Reed.
Yep.
There's been some good all-conference tight ends.
Yeah.
Never have gotten this kind of opportunity.
Good tight ends. I forgot about Vokalek. I mean, that's a good player.
The NFL, when they do their process, they don't have emotion in this.
No.
They look at the full prospect.
Right.
They're not emotional and mad about this or that. They have a process. And like clearly Fedoni, the scouts, when I have been blessed to go to the Senior Bowl one time for the whole week, and it was unreal. I've been to the Combine for a week and the Senior Bowl both. And the Senior Bowl was one of the coolest events I've ever covered. And that was all the way going back to 2008 when I was there.
2008.
I know. It was a long time ago. We worked our you-know-what off, though. I was with Adam Gorney. We were at Rivals. And a guy named Steve McGargy, who's now with the Associated Press. And great. We were like four of us for Yahoo and Rivals. We covered the whole week out there.
Does media still cover it?
Oh, yeah. It's weird, though. It's a mixture of like these draft website kind of small time guys that aren't really in like scouting service guys. And then you'd get some media there. But every single NFL coach, the assistant coaches, the owners, the GMs are at the practices, all of them.
God, if we just had unlimited time and money, it would be very interesting to go down and talk to Thomas and watch him, Fedoni.
Oh, yeah. And then when practice is over, you just grab the players on the field every day.
That'd be amazing.
And then the teams conduct interviews. So all 32 teams will interview every player in the Senior Bowl. So it's a huge advantage to get down there to meet with the teams. And then a particular coaching staff runs each team. So it could be, I don't know who's doing this year's game, but it could be like the Raiders are running one team and the Chargers are running the other team. And
what an opportunity.
And so you get to play for those coaches all week with their head coach running the team. So the year I went, Lane Kiffin was the Raiders coach.
Oh, really?
And
young Lane.
And he ran
very young.
Yeah, very young. And that's the first time I ever met Monty.
Okay.
And that quote that you used about Monty and Pete Carroll earlier this year, that was from that interview.
Which quote's that?
About how he helped link Bo Pelini to Nebraska through Frank Solich.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's 2008.
Yeah. And Monty was there. But then the college head coaches are down there too. So I don't know if Matt Rule's going down there, but it was pretty common practice for the college coach to work their recruiting schedule to come to the Senior Bowl and just pop in for a day.
Okay.
And so you go down there and pop in like that's why I interviewed Saban down there at Senior Bowl practice. So it is a cool week, and those practices are on TV.
Yeah. I mean, it's big. It's a huge week for those guys.
What freaked me out was the weigh-in. So I'm like, where are we going? We're going to the weigh-in. And so we just go to this hotel, and literally all the guys are in like their underwear. And they walk out on a stage and they get weighed and measured. And like every scout has their readers on. They're looking at these guys closely and they're writing down notes. And I'll never forget this. And I don't want to offend anybody when I say this, but a guy wrote down on a guy's body when he looked at the guy, flabby tits.
Really?
Yeah. Like that's what these like scouts, I looked at this guy's sheet. I'm like, oh my God, that guy wrote that down about that player. I don't even remember who the player was. But the guy I was with looked at each other like, wow, he just wrote that down.
Well, we're looking at everything, obviously.
Does that offend you? That take you back?
No.
I don't think that was out of line.
No. I'm not offended.
You would enjoy the Senior Bowl.
I'm sure I would. You just don't, yeah. I mean, I would be interested in how Fedoni does down there.
Guys go down there to job.
Ty,
it's basically the convention for the NFL. Guys go down there to kind of job hunt. Same with the Combine. But the Senior Bowl is a little bit more loose. You're out in Mobile, kind of off the tracks a little bit. And I mean, at night, let me tell you, go to a bar in Mobile during the Senior Bowl.
Really?
It gets pretty wild.
With coaches or players?
Coaches.
Yeah, not players.
Not players.
Right.
Not play. But like just like you'll see people out and like I remember eating in a restaurant down there for lunch, and Herm Edwards just sat next to me at the bar, ordered like 3 cups of gumbo.
Really? Ooh, that sounds good right now.
Gumbo. I like gumbo. All right. Got off track there, but
that's okay. It's what is it? We late January.
Also with Tommy Hill, though, I want to see what he does down there because it ended so poorly for him here.
Injury. I mean, what when you say poorly, what do you mean?
Was it an injury though? Was it a mental thing? Like
I don't know.
Like
what do we get
for Tommy here? Though? This is a way for him to kind of self-correct the year he had.
That's a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it. I bet he'll look really good. He's really talented. I mean, he's long. He's got speed. He's a good ball player. Plays good ball. He's got to put it together for a week.
And I will say the first couple days in Mobile, I mean, the practices are a bit more important than the game. There are a lot of guys that only will do the practices for 2 or 3 days, and then they'll not play the game.
Is that right?
If they get any kind of injury, like minor bump.
Boy, Ty. I mean, Ty could – I mean, I'd like to see Ty – everybody laughs when you say first round. I wouldn't rule it out with him. I watched him. I'm not stupid. I saw him dominate at times.
It'd be quite a way to end the streaks of Nebraska. He got Nebraska back to a bowl. He got the streak of Wisconsin beaten, the streak of Colorado, and he got the first round draft pick streak broken.
Yeah, the streak that dates to 2011. 2011.
And that would be Prince Umukamara.
He was the 19th pick by the Giants. 2011. Nebraska hasn't had a first round pick since then. Move on. We got to move on to another topic.
All right.
That's an ungodly streak.
Well, I don't mean to do this to you, but odds and ends, final headline of the show, headline number 5, Nebraska basketball. We hit on this at the top of the show about the struggles, but Fred Hoiberg's team has now lost 6 in a row. They were down, I believe, 19-2.
They were, Sean. They were down 19-2. Then they were down in the second half by 30 to Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin is very good. That's a very good Wisconsin team. And they made 17 threes. Nebraska's given up a lot of threes now to teams. I don't know Nebraska's lost its defensive edge. So people come to us for answers. Here's an answer. What's gone wrong? Nebraska's lost its defensive edge. I don't know what Robin wrote it. They double a lot. They double down low a lot. They're slow on their rotations, and their closeouts are kind of soft. So you're seeing teams with open looks from the three-point line, and they're making them. You can't give up 17 three-pointers on the road and expect to come close a lot of the time. And it's happening on a regular basis now. And then Bryce Williams and Connor Essegian are good shooters. They don't really have a third, though. They don't have a third. And those guys they haven't been that reliable.
Bryce has kind of been hot and cold.
Yeah. That's a kind way to put it.
I feel like the Iowa game.
That's really kind way to put it.
The Iowa game, if he would have willed them to that win, maybe this whole thing feels different, but they lost.
Oh, I think you're 100% right. I think that blowing a 15-point lead, well, Fred has talked about this.
They'd be 3-1 in the conference at that point.
Yeah, Fred's talked about it. That did some psychological damage to the team. You don't want your team to be that fragile, and Fred said it on the post-game radio show yesterday. It's a damning comment about his own team. I would counsel coaches not to do this. He said, we just have such a slight margin for error. This team has a very small margin for error. So if we're not hitting on all cylinders, if we're not playing our best, it's going to be tough. Well, why is that? Why is that a problem? Because you recruited that team. I mean, don't divorce yourself from the conversation. I mean, this is your bunch. You created a slim margin for error.
Would rink mass help this team?
Yes, 100%.
His high post ability.
Yeah. He would have helped. They're missing Tomanog, obviously. He wouldn't be eligible, but yeah, Mast is eligible, and he would definitely help them. That's hurting them. Now, I was saying the last time we were on the show, maybe they can spin out of this and be okay. Now
they're 17th out of 18 teams in the conference.
Right. There's plenty of ball left. But see, the path back is going to be really hard because the league is not great, but it's all the teams are pretty good. So there's no real easy games, is what I'm trying to get at.
Right now, if I'm being realistic, it's make the Big Ten tournament and maybe the NIT. I mean, that would be like pulling the plane up a little bit at that point. I mean, I think we can all agree the NCAA tournament discussion
seems over now.
It's been tabled.
Yeah.
But like if they were able to win 3 or 4 or 5 of these games at home and maybe at Washington, they can possibly get an NIT bid. But obviously that does nothing for anybody. I mean, like, I don't think.
Not really. No, you know what? Now, this is the unfortunate part of the season. Yeah. Excuse me if this sounds a little bit rough. It's just kind of annoying now, because even if they win a couple games, people will be like, see, Sean, Sip, they're okay. They're good. You'll get that. And it's sort of annoying.
Like they'll beat Illinois.
They'll beat somebody. Of course they're going to win some games, but are they going to? I mean, now what we're talking about is they're in danger of not even making the conference tournament. Forget the NCAA tournament. And, you're looking at a coach who's in his 6th year and hasn't won an NCAA tournament game.
With a big contract.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's why we buried it. It's not a good conversation.
No.
Nobody wants to hear it.
When I chose not to have Robin go to Wisconsin. It didn't make sense. Like I was surprised people went up there, to be honest. They got beat by 30 points. They've lost 6 games. And
not much to say.
I run a business here, and I didn't see much of a business.
Well, you know who else runs a business? Troy Dannon. I mean,
it didn't make sense like to have like Robin go up there, spend 2 nights to see Nebraska lose by 30.
That's a damning comment about Nebraska's basketball program. That's
why if I felt like they could win, but the game was over in the first 5 minutes.
Here's the issue. This is a complicated conversation, because the arena it'll still be pretty full on Thursday night.
I mean, I'll be there. Well, like, we love going. My family, we love going.
People love going, and they keep going. But I talked to a lot of people yesterday who didn't even pay attention to the game. Now, that's where the AD, if I was the AD and I had those kind of conversations with people that didn't even pay attention to the game, that's not good. I mean,
you know what's a pain in the butt too is noon and 11 a.m. Sunday basketball.
Yeah.
It's just not like,
it's not great. It's not great. I kind of run hot and cold on it. It's not the worst time. They just play it all over the clock, so it is what it is. But anyway, I don't know what we're going to do here, Sean. I mean, I guess you just ride it out. Nebraska just rides it out and see if they can pick up a few more wins, and that's it. Not much else to say.
All right, odds and ends. Jim Knowles, Ohio State defensive coordinator, is going to Penn State. Now, I pose that it's a surprise, but some of our astute users said it was widely speculated that Knowles was going to be on his way out of Ohio State. And maybe the way things kind of fell apart at the end of the year against Michigan and some other things got things moving before things finished.
There's all kinds of conversations that maybe there's a rift with the defensive line coach, Larry Johnson. I've heard that. The other thing to consider is Knowles is from Philadelphia.
And he's going to make $3.1 million a year, which is the highest contract in assistant coach history.
It is. I think Ohio State was prepared to pay him $2.7 million, which would probably have been the highest in history. So I don't know if he's chasing money. I mean,
he got 3 years.
Right. I still agree with you on this. It's surprising. I get that there was some talk about it, and I understand the money, but he's basically going. Look, I know that Ohio State's rival is Michigan, but Penn State's kind of a rival. I mean, it's not like Michigan.
Can you imagine Charlie McBride after the national title in '97
going to K-State
or Florida?
Same conference.
So Colorado.
Yeah. Or Kansas State. I mean, somebody like that. No, I can't really imagine it. Not after you win a national.
Charlie wasn't, he told me before, like the Dallas Cowboys approached Charlie, like, Tom Landry, he was going to go down there, and then Landry was fired or retired. But Charlie had a lot of people that inquired about him.
So Jim Knowles leaves to be the coordinator at Penn State. And now you're hearing Chip Kelly's name mentioned in the NFL to take a coordinator. He's been linked to multiple coordinator jobs. So it's fascinating. Ohio State could lose both their coordinators. If you're an Ohio State fan, you're going, wait a second, we better keep Day here.
It tells you how hot it got, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, I'm sure these guys.
I sure is uncomfortable.
Like, these guys are like, man, this sucks. Like, we lost to Michigan, and
it was horrifying.
Well, the Nebraska, if Nebraska would have held them on that drive and got the ball back, they're in a 4-minute offense to win the game in Columbus.
Yeah.
I mean, they were that close to winning in Columbus.
Yeah.
No one wants to admit that, but they were.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, they dominated Ohio State at the point of attack, both sides of the ball.
At times they did. Yeah.
The screen game got so criticized that day to the point where they stopped running screens. I think Nebraska ran like 23 screens.
Ooh, I didn't know it was that day.
Yeah, against Ohio State.
Ooh, I didn't know that. I don't know that number.
I shared it in our site. I'll pull it up on PFF. I'll tell you. But yeah, it was in my article back then. I'll tell you right now, because you're really questioning me, and I want to make sure I didn't give disinformation, Mr. Sipple.
Fact check time.
Let's see. Screens at Ohio State. Oh, let's see. They ran 13, 13 screens.
That's still a lot. That's a lot of screens. 23 would be an incredible number if they how many plays did they run that day?
Well, 13 of Nebraska's 41 pass plays were screens.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
They had 31 yards of offense on 13 screens.
Yeah, it was
2.6 yards per attempt.
Yeah, and when they got the ball in the 4-minute offense that you alluded to, there was at least one screen in there where you're like, okay, what are we doing? You know.
Surprisingly, the play action, they were really effective in that game. But yeah, that was a big one. All right, keeping odds and ends going. How high can you jump, Sip? If you had to do a high jump.
I'm 58. I don't know. That's a hard question to answer.
Well, Jenna Rogers from Nebraska now leads the nation and set a Bob Devaney record in the high jump this weekend. She went 6'4" and a quarter in the high jump. And here she goes. This is a school record, Devaney Center record, leads the NCAA. How about that?
It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Nebraska's field events have always just been ridiculous between jumpers, throwers, like long jump, triple jump, high jump, pole vault. That's how they won the Big Ten last year.
That's right. They did win the Big Ten. That's good footage there.
6'4" and a quarter.
Yeah. Leads the country.
Devaney Center record. So I wanted to give that some props. Husker wrestling went 2-0, had 2 big wins at Michigan State. For our wrestling people, we get a lot of praise when we mention wrestling. If we don't do it one show, I hear about it.
Is that right?
Yeah, but Manning had 2 good weekends, two good wins.
2 wins, good for Mark. All right, good job.
Right, so, and then Husker volleyball did get a transfer from Baylor. Abby Barmore had that story on HuskerOnline. Nebraska added Allie Check. I think I got the last name right. 6'4" hitter from Baylor, was a second-team All Big 12 hitter. Another kind of, and that seems to be kind of the model for John Cook. They tend to bring in at least one high-profile transfer every year.
And they're not. I don't think they didn't lose anybody. Nebraska didn't lose anybody to the portal, which is always a good sign. Well, it's partly a sign that you're paying them.
Well, you're paying your players. Pretty well-heeled NIL operation.
Yeah, Nebraska doesn't lose a lot. I mean, they didn't lose anybody off the volleyball team.
Why would you want to leave here? They lost a couple girls to Penn State the year before, but that's
usually a playing time issue.
Bait and horse. And,
yeah. Usually a playing time issue.
And man, this pro volleyball, it's crazy how big it is. Like, so you have obviously the Supernovas, but then the Love Volleyball League in Omaha. I mean, that's where like the cream of the crop. I mean, you have Jordan Larson, Justine Wan, Lexi Rodriguez, but everybody was there this weekend. Like John Cook,
big crowds,
all the players, and they're playing those games in that. Have you ever been to the Ralston Arena?
That's what that was. I saw the photo. I was like, "What arena is that?" Ralston. It looks like a nice arena.
So yeah, it is. The Liberty First Credit Union Arena in Ralston, right next to Ralston Keno and 84th and Q, and they built that kind of thinking that UNO would just kind of make that their home base for athletics. It made sense for UNO to be a tenant there. Then UNO just built their own arena.
Wow, this is a good deal for that arena.
So that arena has the Lancers, the Beef, and now Love Volleyball. But, the Novas got the leg up as far as starting out earlier, but the better players are in this league.
It's really confusing for people, isn't it?
Like the Novas.
It's really confusing.
The Novas are well marketed. They got out first, and they're getting huge crowds. But the Love Volleyball has the best players in the U.S.
Huh.
I mean, Jordan Larson's playing.
Right. And Abby's covering this.
Yeah, Abby's been busy.
Okay. I mean, this is not even Babe in the Woods. This is just not being prepared. Which league do the Burrows are they active in ownership of?
I think they're the Supernova League, but that league's ending.
Okay.
So we don't really like the Supernovas are going to go into a different league. But I think what people have figured out is it doesn't make sense to have pro volleyball teams in like NBA cities. Like anchor them where the people go to volleyball games.
Yeah.
Like Madison, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Pittsburgh.
You're a businessman. Two leagues don't make a lot of sense to me.
No, and
it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I should speak in good English.
But you've got like the Olympic level, highest quality players for the most part playing in Love. And then
just keep it at Love.
But then you've got another league with the Novas where the Novas are the only team in that league that really draw at this level. And by the way, our former intern, Grant Hansen, voice of the Supernovas.
Okay. Well, I need to, I don't know. It's all very confusing. I have a hard time just figuring everything out on the football front.
You didn't even know that was the Ralston Arena.
No, I saw a photo of it. And I was like, well, I had a coach actually send me a photo and say, what is this arena? Yeah, that's amazing. That's a pretty nice arena.
It is. I think it holds like 3,500 to 4,000
in Ralston,
which is perfect.
Right on the main drag there. I've been by it. I've never stopped in it.
I never thought it was sustainable to have a pro team play at the CenturyLink Center.
Oh, why is that?
Or just because it's very expensive to rent it and utilize that facility. Like UNO Hockey had to pull out of there because they couldn't afford. And UNO Hockey's a well-established brand.
UNO Hockey right now is rolling.
Yeah, they swept again this weekend.
Yeah, they're rolling, as is UNO basketball. I know that.
Oh, UNO basketball is undefeated.
Yeah, UNO athletics right now is rolling. I mean, both those programs are on a serious roll.
All right, we just lost. Like we delve into the volleyball UNO hole, so we probably should end this.
It's late January.
All right. Well, good show.
It's late January.
All right, we're back Wednesday.
Robin, and Friday.
Abby, and we're back Friday. So thanks for joining us. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan signing off for Husker Online Headlines.